This is Dan Riley for Sports Talk on Passionate World Internet Radio. I'm going to take a break from my usual sports talk to get personal with my audience here. There's a lot of blame to go around for these last few years, but that's not what this podcast is about. Decades ago, Republicans in Congress pushed through the Financial Services Modernization Act, leading to the Great Recession. Meanwhile, progressive Democrats pushed the glorified con that was the self-esteem movement, which, in hindsight, threatened my generation's emotional and mental health. From what I'm worried about, I'm going to get straight to the point. I'll have to get vulnerable with my audience here. Please, re-examine what you know to be true. False pride got us to this point as a society where a pandemic locked us in a house. Donald Trump never should have been in the White House, with, meanwhile, progressive colleges pushing a laughable words are weapons mindset which could damage Generation Z's mental and emotional health. Neither will be worthy of praise by future historians. Too much is at stake for any one person to insist that they have all the answers, because unfortunately, that's what's got us in this sticky situation. American society has embarrassed itself, and only we can change the false bravado-filled mindset gripping society. Maybe it started with athletes like Terrell Owens, who constantly bump their chest talking about how great they are. Maybe it started with the self-esteem movement. Maybe it started with our two political parties in Congress. But at some point, ego, talking about how great you are and insisting you have all the answers, has become the norm, and that's a problem. I've been humbled enough to examine my views, and I beg my listeners to do the same for our own sake. 40 years ago, people in the United States put together this self-esteem mindset where we fed our egos to the point where we are so sure how things ought to be. Things need to change. Too many of every background fear they can't go to college. People have died from a sickness that didn't exist just a few years ago, and the future suddenly looks doubtful to a lot of people. When people are afraid they can't go to college, or they're too scared to speak up a political view, that's a problem, because then we're out of the pan and into the fire. Coming fresh off a pandemic, we should look in the mirror and ask ourselves how we contributed to this situation. I know I have. This is Dan Riley. Thank you so much for tuning in, and so long.